For example, check out this collection of Jedi Padawans and see if you can identify the one demographic that's mysteriously
Critical drinker fans. This is what you take seriously. Fucking reflect on your life. Critical drinker has paused a frame in the trailer to see how many children are white guys. Just who cares? Who the fuck cares? I was about to say, oh, that one kid over there, that could be a guy, but oh no, it's black. It's black, because that doesn't count, right? Is it possible these? I don't even want to play the game. I don't. This is stupid. You paused a frame to count the number of men in it. Like, automatically, I know that you are not looking for anything positive or even looking to enjoy this. You are literally playing look for the white guy. This is not a serious person. At all. Hey guys, I need you to do me a favor. Help me fight the algorithm. Go ahead and hit like, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell icon for new notifications. Thank you. Have you guys seen X-Men 97 yet? Out of curiosity. Because, I'll be honest, I said on stream yesterday that I was going to wait to watch it with my son. But then I was like, when I covered Chuds, when I get to Chuds, what Chuddery should I cover? And I'm seeing kind of a lot of shit about X-Men 97. And I'm like, I guess I should do X-Men 97, but if I'm going to look into X-Men 97, I should probably go ahead and watch it. And I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and watch it, and if it's good, then I'll just rewatch it with my son, and if it sucks, then, I just won't watch it with my son. He can, play video games like he normally does or something. So I did end up watching. I was like, I'll watch the first episode. It was kind of late, so I didn't want to stay up too late because I had to work in the morning. So I was like, I'll watch one episode tomorrow night, and then if I have time, I'll watch the second one today. So I watched the first one, and then I watched the second one last night because it was so fucking good. Like, I cannot stress enough. X-Men 97 was, I thought, pretty fucking amazing. Like, it brought back nostalgia of watching the animated series, more so than even watching the animated series. Because, like when you're a kid and you were watching the original animated series, you don't notice little things like the animation being a little janky and stuff like that. But with the new one, the animation is so much cleaner and crisper, and they brought back so many of the original voices, and it feels like a continuation of the original, just done, frankly, better. Like, it feels like, to quote the Chuds, it feels current day. But, like, the series does a great job. It makes Cyclops is a major character, and he's a badass. Absolute fucking badass. Yeah, the Cyclops airdrop scene is amazing, and then the storm where she ices up everything. Oh fuck! Oh my god damn it! And there are the show does a great job of like foreshadowing stuff too. Like that airdrop is actually foreshadowed because in the first fight scene we see how Cyclops fights, and I've never seen Cyclops fight this way before. So obviously he's like, he will get in the middle of the villains, but like he does this mixture of like actual like punching them and actual like using his blaster to move around lots of times too. Like he will blast a villain and push himself back a little bit so he can put himself in position to either punch or blast the next villain. And it's really cool how he used his blaster to move around. And then that foreshadows the airdrop where like all the X-Men, we're dealing with minor spoilers from the first episode. This is all goes before the clip that went viral. But like the X-wing gets blown up essentially, and they're falling through the air, and all the X-Men get picked up. They all have some sort of flying solution, except for Cyclops, who literally just is like, okay, everybody's good. Okay, cool. And then he just, as he's falling, he turns around, he blasts the fucking ground to slow down his descent. And then he lands safely by doing that. And then all the X-Men just land behind him. And it's just this badass fucking shot. And then that's where they fight some old Sentinels. The first episode is kind of like almost like a sequel to the first season almost. To kind of like, here's some issues with the first season that we kind of can pick up on. This series deals heavily with the Friends of Humanity, which are kind of like they're the anti-mutant group, the proud boys of the X-Men universe. I cannot praise what I saw enough. It was amazing. But obviously, I thought it'd be fun to check out the Chud response since the X-Men 97 premiere has been launched. Because I have noticed that a lot of them have gotten pretty fucking quiet about it. Because the overall response to this series has been, frankly, glowing. Yeah, Archmates, the scene early on with Friends of Humanity are like, no, and Cyclops is like, no, don't take my visor, please. And then they take the visor and he just goes, and blasts him anyway. It's like, Cyclops is a badass in the series. Yeah, there's so many cool moments. So, like, the Chud response has been quiet since the series actually came out, and you can probably tell. Rotten Tomatoes gives you a good idea of why the Chud response has been so quiet, because it's got 100%, 38 reviews in, all of them positive from the official critics, 100%, and then 94% audience rating. This series is getting glowing reviews because, frankly, I don't know how you could watch this series and dislike it. It's kind of amazing. I don't know if they're going to double down and discount their fans to not watch it, or if they're going to ignore it and just move on to the next thing. Because the thing I've been noticing is how all of a sudden a lot of the Chuds are screaming about the Acolyte trailer. Now, I saw the Acolyte trailer. I didn't think it was the best trailer ever, but it seemed pretty cool. Seemed pretty fucking cool to me. And now they all seem to be blasting that, kind of ignoring the fact that X-Men 97 was really, really good. And Critical Drinker has an Acolyte trailer review out, which I'm sure is garbage. But it's like, X-Men 97 was just released. Where are the reviews of this? Don't you guys talk about this? What's up? Let's see. I know I saw some people had covered it a little bit. Oh, this AirrickDebunks guy. He's awful, yeah. He's actually based, never mind. Wow, the Chuds have gone really quiet about it. Hypnotic did a lot of coverage of X-Men. Has he not talked about it? It's like, now that it's come out, like, he's like, we can't really talk about this, guys. No, I think it wouldn't surprise me if the X-Men are pushing hard into if the Marvel's gonna try to lean hard into the mutant stuff, because X-Men 97, it's so good. And I don't want to get too deep into spoilers. I will say there is a huge Storm spoiler, and oh yeah, I was talking about how based in awesome Cyclops is. You know who else is based in awesome? Well, Storm is based in awesome as well, but the other character who's really awesome is fucking Magneto. Magneto is badass in the series so far. And it's not like they're changing his character at all. He's introduced and he's like a villain, and the X-Men are like, oh, god damn, Magneto's here. We're gonna have to do something about this. I don't watch it. It's so good. So he hasn't covered it, even though he's done a whole bunch. No. So yesterday he talked about the American Society of Magical Negroes, which is an interesting thing that they keep on talking about. It shows desperation, but they're not talking about X-Men 97. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, you know, they were all over it when the X-Men showrunner was fired, but now literally the show is here. But yeah, no, it's all talk about Acolyte. Even World Class Bullshitters there was talking about Acolyte. That is really interesting how they... Like, I was expecting at least to get a couple of them that, like, were really railing on it, but then decided to go ahead and do a review and try to rail on it some more. But no one appears to have done that. Mainly because they realize how good it is. Like, I do feel like lots of times they just can't handle some of this stuff. I mean, to a degree, it shows a dishonesty with this stuff as well. Because X-Men 97 is a pretty big show, and no one wants to talk about it yet. Like, you'd think some of these guys would have stuff ready to go, but new? Yeah, no, it's silence from the Chudosphere. They are all on the Acolyte. I want to talk more about X-Men 97, because it was fucking good! Alright, you know what? We got Critical Drinker already did it as his Acolyte video, despite never not discussing X-Men 97, which actually came out, because talking about a trailer is more important than talking about something that's actually out, right? But anyways, the Acolyte, the message is strong with this one. Let's check it out.
Hey, remember Star Wars?
Yes, yes.
Oh, shut up, you. Remember how it used to be this awesome space adventure with cool heroes, evil villains, epic action scenes, and inspirational messages about the importance of determination, loyalty, sacrifice, and redemption? Remember when people used to get excited at the prospect of new movies and TV shows that expanded on a rich and detailed world we all wanted to know more about? Remember when it was still considered...
Well... Okay, so everybody was pumped for Phantom Menace, and then people were still excited for Attack the Clones, and more so for Revenge of the Sith, but we were all kind of burnt out from the prequels. You see, what he's describing right now is something that he's counting on essentially rose-tinted glasses to cloud your vision. It's possible maybe Critical Drinker is much younger than I am, but I think he's probably about my age. But he's ignoring the fact that, like, it wasn't... Like, Star Wars, like, yes, everybody was pumped for the original trilogy when it came out. Everybody was pumped for Phantom Menace. And then, like, everybody went to see Attack the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but the prequels kind of had us down. And then there was anticipation built up again for Force Awakens. And that was pretty good, actually. Say what you will. But then, like, you know, every Star Wars release has a certain amount of excitement built into it, but let's be serious. It's not a flawless series. The prequels have a lot of issues with them. The sequels have issues as well. I mean, I'm well on the record of saying I really enjoy Force Awakens, and Last Jedi I think is one of the best Star Wars movies. And then Rise of Skywalker was a movie that happened, and it just kind of shit the bed with the whole sequel trilogy. But the sequel trilogy's got 2 good entries, and hey, and the prequels are just kind of... Like, I really don't like Attack the Clones. I don't hate Phantom Menace as much as most people, but I don't like it. And then Revenge of the Sith was okay. It was okay. But yeah. What do I think of the Beatles? I'm a Beatles fan. I really like their new one. Their last song, apparently, Now and Then. It was actually on the Argyle soundtrack, which surprised me, but if you're looking for some, like, good throwback stuff, the Beatles did a great job getting their final song out, the Now and Then. Check it out. I really like the Beatles' later work. I know it's a bit blasphemy, but, like, I love Abbey Road. I love Magical Mystery Tour. I love White Album. White Album is awesome. White Album might be my favorite, actually. But yeah, no, I'm like, they're not, like, my favorite, obviously, you know, a hardcore Genesis fan. I love my prog rock, but, I mean, lots of prog rock is inspired by Beatles-type stuff, so I dig the Beatles. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about Critical Drinker, talk about how old Star Wars used to be great, and now Disney sucks, even though, the actual story is a bit messier than that.
an icon of pop culture and not a sad, embarrassing train wreck being mercilessly milked to death by a gigantic, money-hungry corporation that never understood what made it special in the first place.
What made Star Wars special in the first place? Do you mean the toys? Did you talk about the toys? So, in case you guys... Oh, Abbey Road's your favorite. Abbey Road's fantastic as well. I can't slight Abbey Road. But anyways, so fun fact, George Lucas, when he did the original movie, just asked for, like, he essentially let Fox have all the revenue from the movie, and he just wanted the rights to the toy sales. And that was it. And so he marketed the shit out of the toy sales and for Star Wars. And that's why Star Wars toys are kind of legendary at this point. And because of that, the revenue he got from that, he was able to buy the franchise from Fox, and it became his franchise after that. Star Wars is all about toy sales, and that's one of the things George Lucas was good at. He was good at, frankly, making money. So arguing that Star Wars isn't some sort of capitalist enterprise isn't accurate whatsoever. I mean, George Lucas wrote and directed the first Star Wars, and then he was involved with the story for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but he had Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan work on the Empire Strikes Back. And then Lawrence Kasdan worked on Return of the Jedi, and then he had Irvin Kershner direct Empire Strikes Back, and I am brain farting. Maybe Chad can help me out. Someone else directed Return of the Jedi. It wasn't until the prequel trilogy that I returned to writing and directing all of them. But yeah, he was a business guy. Star Wars has always been kind of a business, dude. Like, you can complain that you don't like a lot of the stuff that's come out from Star Wars over Disney because, I mean, frankly, that's what all your contemporaries do. Your right-wing grifter friends all do. Rather than actually analyze stuff, you like to judge it based on trailers, which, by the way, the Acolyte is just a trailer at this point. But yeah, it's always been a business machine. It's always been... George Lucas made a lot of money on Star Wars. And he just happened to pick really good, talented people, work on episodes, The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and turn out a good movie.
Remember when it was still being worked on by creatives with genuine passion for the world they were adding to, instead of ridiculous, incompetent tourists and activists masquerading.
So this is a thing they always like to do. Whenever they're talking about, it's pretty consistent. Whenever they talk about, like, creatives that they want to insult or bring down, they always cut to a woman or minority, and they'd be like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. And they're not actually saying woman bad or minority bad directly, but they're implying it. And the audience gets the message pretty clearly. It's like whenever you see a woman or minority, it means they're pushing the message and the movie's bad. And it's like, no, that's not what it means at all. Some of the most talented people in Hollywood are women and minorities. Stop pretending like it's not that. Just because the norm has been white men forever doesn't mean there aren't people who aren't white men who are talented, because there are people who are more talented than white men. They just are.
Rating as filmmakers? Well, that brings me neatly along to The Acolyte, the latest excretion from Disney Lucasfilm, preparing to join the long line of failed projects that were all going to save Star Wars. This time coming from the
Man, they've really railed against Obi-Wan Kenobi. Frankly, I thought Boba Fett was worse than Obi-Wan Kenobi. At least Obi-Wan Kenobi knew what it was about. And then Mandalorian has been pretty consistently good. And Ahsoka was great, and Andor was great as well. So I would say Disney has more hits than misses under their belt. Not to say they don't have misses, but you guys are acting like everything's a miss, and it's not. It's frankly not.
Creative mind of Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant.
Oh my god, they love to bring that up. Oh, wow. Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant. You know, that probably means she was a victim of him, right? You understand that, right? The way Harvey Weinstein gave jobs to women is if they would give him sexual favors. That's how Harvey Weinstein operated. That's why he was a sleazy piece of shit. So when you're trying to somehow say, she's Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant, and you're trying to do guilt by association with her, which is exactly what you're doing, guilt by association, which is something you guys claim to be completely against, but you're doing it freely here. When you do guilt by association with her, you're actually blaming somebody who was almost certainly a fucking victim of him. I'm just pointing that out.
Leslie Headland, who really cares about Star Wars, apparently.
Star Wars saved my life.
I don't believe you.
Anyway, in much...
Well, you know what? When you just clip a little snippet like that and don't let her tell the story, yeah, it's easy to say, I don't believe you, with a goofy little clip from Anchorman. Maybe if you're going to include that, include the story, include the full context, rather than just cutting around it like a dipshit grifter that you are.
Much the same way that Marvel desperately held back the trailer for the Marvels as long as possible because they fully understood what an embarrassing turd they had on their hands, not to mention the sheer fan apathy towards the project. The first trailer for The Acolyte finally released yesterday, 4 years after the show was first announced, and barely 2...
Pre-production is when most shows are cancelled. It is the longest and trickiest part of any show. Now, once you get pre-production down on any show or piece of media, like, it's easier to follow up with, like, a sequel or another season because you got the groundwork. It's getting the groundwork figured out and set up that's the trickiest part. 4 years after the show was announced. So 4 years. So that means it was announced in 2020 during COVID. Yeah, that's going to slow it down quite a bit immediately. And... yeah, pre-production. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how long it takes for them to figure out how to do this series. All it matters is if the series is good. And like I said, I thought the trailer looked decent. It looked solid.
2 months before it premieres on Disney+. And Jesus, it's already been ratioed into oblivion.
Okay, so those ratio add-ons, at least if I'm to believe the people who keep on telling me how my videos are ratioed, their numbers are always fucking wrong, and it always overcounts the dislikes significantly. So, yeah, I'm just going to throw it out there. Anytime I see a post pointing out, oh, you got ratioed, look at all your discount, they always post overcount the dislikes. Maybe it's just them trolling me, but I suspect that because it's so universal and they always do it, that these counters aren't accurate whatsoever.
Honestly, the memes probably got more traction on social media than the show itself. But Drinker, you handsome roguish smug...
Wow. Wow, so... we have a really classy period... yeah, a really classy period joke with that one. That is classy, guys. Thank you, Critical Drinker. That is classy to introduce us. And that... okay, bag of shit. Okay, heck is this? Oh, it's an our period joke. Got 2 period jokes here? God, you guys are so fucking creative. Well done. Fucking, just a masterclass in creativity from these guys. So original.
Show itself. But Drinker, you handsome roguish smuggler with a heart of gold, I hear you say. What's of the trailer itself? What does it tell us about the show? What's the tone and feel? What can we expect from the creative powerhouse of Leslie Headland? Well, I'll be fucked if I know.
God, they're really shitting on Leslie Headland. And as far as I can tell, the only thing they had to go against her is that she was the assistant under Harvey Weinstein, which I said before means she was probably a fucking victim.
Because the trailer is less of a primer for The Acolyte and more like a series of disconnected scenes carefully chosen to tell us nothing at all. I mean, I definitely had fun playing a particularly challenging game of Spot the White Guy with this trailer, because damn man, this one shows enough to fulfill Disney's entire DEI quota for the next 2 fiscal years.
I think it's kind of telling that you watch a trailer and play Spot the White Guy. I mean, how many white guys do you need in a trailer to enjoy it? Is that a metric for enjoying it? How many white guys are there? What if there were no white guys? Does that mean it's bad? Perhaps it's just a story that doesn't involve white guys, which would be a rarity. most stories involve white guys significantly, so maybe I'm not against a story that just doesn't involve white guys. But I find it interesting. They're like, oh, there's like almost no white guys in here, so how's that a complaint? That's not a complaint. Bro, grow up.
For example, check out this collection of Jedi Padawans and see if you can identify the one demographic that's mysteriously
Critical drinker fans. This is what you take seriously. Fucking reflect on your life. Critical drinker has paused a frame in the trailer to see how many children are white guys. Just who cares? Who the fuck cares? I was about to say, oh, that one kid over there, that could be a guy, but oh no, it's black. It's black, so that doesn't count, right? Is it possible I don't even want to play the game. I don't. This is stupid. You paused a frame to count the number of men in it. Like, automatically, I know that you are not looking for anything positive or even looking to enjoy this. You are literally playing look for the white guy. This is not a serious person. At all. This is not a person who critiques things. Seriously. At all. This is ridiculous. This is a fucking joke, right? If he was pure satire, like, if he was doing a satire of a fucking chud, like, this would be what you would do, just scientifically trying to figure out where the fucking white guy is. Yeah, no, I've seen a little bit of the new Quantum Leap. Yeah, it doesn't have a single white guy in the main cast. Of course, Quantum Leap doesn't have a huge main cast, but yeah, it doesn't. Al's a woman, and then I want to say the new Sam Beckett. Probably not his name, but the new Sam Beckett is a Asian guy. Yeah, it's yeah. Thank you, Shane. He's not even. Yeah, this is not a point. Like, trailer sucks because there's not enough people with penises in it. What the fuck? Seriously.
left out. Anyway, as best as I could piece together from various interviews and whatever tidbits of information the trailer gave us, the general gist is that the show takes place in a time of peace and prosperity for the High Republic, with the Jedi presiding over a galaxy of order and happiness, because Leslie Headland thought it would be interesting to make Star Wars with no war in it.
Okay. So obviously they're setting it in the Star Wars universe. And yeah, she's setting it during a time of peace because guess what? That can be a fun time. So you set it during a time of peace and then you throw that peace on its head. I mean, technically the Phantom Menace begins during a time of peace. The war, like there's a battle in that, but the war doesn't start till the next fucking movie. Star Wars is the name of the franchise, and it revolves around wars, yes, but it's not the entire focus.
Superb choice there, Leslie. Can't wait for you to make an alien movie that doesn't have any xenomorphs in it. Although, I did like how she described...
Okay, not the same thing, and honestly, like, Ridley Scott did give us Prometheus, which is a alien movie with minimal xenomorphs, almost no xenomorphs. You know, say what you will, that movie was a visual feast. I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't blow my mind, but I thought it was decent. Visually, that movie's amazing. But yeah.
Described the show as Frozen meets Kill Bill.
Fuck.
Which on
Okay, so that is a really interesting mix, actually. I'm not sure what she would mean by that. That could be crazy. So I'm assuming maybe it's like younger generation, but like assassins? I don't know, it's weird.
honestly feels like she picked the last two movies she happened.
Is it technically in the same... Is the new Quantum Leap technically in the same universe? I didn't realize that. I wondered if they could do something like that, because that could be cool.
To see and mash them together.
The 13 of us began with a singular vision. Titanic meets Frasier.
I mean, honestly, what are you even supposed to take from a description like that? Apparently, she also wanted to explore the franchise from the...
I miss when critics would review stuff when it came out. Instead, they're reviewing trailers. They're talking about articles about stuff during pre-production, rather than actually talk about like it came out. Like, I was just looking for all their content on X-Men 97. That just came out. And none of these chuds have done anything on X-Men 97 since it came out. But back when there was like, fucking, you know, morphs non-binary, where's Rogue's ass, Storm's wearing a suit. These chuds are all over the goddamn place about that shit, jumping on it instantly. But now the series is actually here and they're not talking about it. I think it's interesting that, you know, now, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Acolyte. Another series that hasn't fucking come out yet. It's like, we're going to talk about the thing that hasn't come out yet and talk about how woke and cringe it is. But once it comes out, if it gets good reviews, we're going to ignore it. We're going to move on to the next thing that's coming out and call it woke and cringe. And then if that comes out with positive reviews, don't worry. We'll just move on to the next thing. We're not going to cover it. Don't worry. Kind of letting the grift bear, I have to say.
Perspective of the villains, because the bad guys are wildly outnumbered at that point and are the underdogs, which kind of explains this line right here.
This isn't about good or bad. This is about power.
Ah, Star Wars, the classic story of good versus evil, which is no longer about good versus evil.
I mean, I'll be blunt, it sounds like she has interesting ideas, so let's see what she does with them. Because it sounds like she probably had a weird pitch for Disney, and Disney went, okay, cool, let's check this out. Yeah, cool. I'm kind of down if they just want to experiment and do different shit with the franchise.
This is about power.
Power.
Tell me, why is so much of modern Hollywood about tearing down classic heroes and reframing villains as misunderstood anti-heroes?
Okay, so now you're playing a clip from Wicked. Fun fact, that's not, like, yes, Hollywood is doing a version of Wicked coming out later this year, but Wicked is a Broadway play that's been around for at least a decade. That is like that story's been around, bro. Why weren't you screaming about it then? It's just Hollywood's finally getting around to adapting it because it was really popular. Like, God, I feel like these chuds really depend on their fans not to know fucking anything, right? Really, just... Critical Drinker fans, you can do better. Almost 20 years? Yeah, no, it's been around for a while. It used to be, God, I want to say the original cast was, actually, it was the one from Frozen. God, what's, Idina Menzel. She was the original evil, the Wicked Witch, and then, the other fairly famous actress was, Glinda. Yeah, and it was a book. That's right. It was a book, and then it turned into a Broadway play, and then it was now it's a Hollywood movie. So it took 20 years to get here, and he's talking about, oh, Hollywood's reframing all our classic villains. Like, bro, this story's been around. Holy shit.
Heroes. Why are they trying to dupe people into believing that nothing is intrinsically good or bad, that morality and objective reality don't actually exist, and everything...
They still will do the villain for the sake of villain. And objective morality doesn't exist. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, do they pretend like objective morality doesn't exist? What I've seen so far is lots of villains who are kind of, more like, we're diving a bit more into their psychology and exploring them more and getting a better understanding of how they got to where they're at. Because, frankly, that's kind of how yeah, Adele Dazeem. Thank you, John Travolta. I didn't know Archmage Fry was actually John Travolta. Thank you. But yeah, no, they're like, more recently they've been trying to do better with their villains. Because evil for the sake of evil villain can work if you have a good enough story around it. But you don't want to focus too much on your villain if that's the story of your... If you don't have much behind the villain. Like, Malekith. Thor the Dark World. You remember him, right? If you say yes, I know you're lying. Nobody remembers Malekith from Thor the Dark World. He was played by Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor. Great fucking actor. Completely fucking forgettable villain. Essentially evil for the sake of evil. In the comic book, he's kind of a trickster dude. They obviously didn't want him to be like Loki. So for the movie, he was just evil for the sake of evil. It was boring. And yeah. But yeah, so what they've tried to do, you know, kind of, I mean, that's just a key example of evil for the sake of evil villain. But like, you know, you try to evolve your villains and give them a bit better backstory so you understand where they're at. Because, fun fact, everyone's the hero of their own story. That's just how people view themselves. Donald Trump views himself as the hero of his story. He probably believes a lot of the bullshit he tells himself and his followers. Because it's probably shit he tells himself. He probably listens to a lot of the Kool-Aid and goes along with it because it's good for his ego. I mean, a lot of these politicians are probably like that, for sure. Everybody's the hero of their own story, so it makes sense to when you do a villain, kind of give them a, you know, it's not terrible to give them a story that's understandable. That person can look at that story and say, I can see how they got there. I mean, you will still have just insane people like the fucking Joker and shit. By the way, he is bashing movies that explore the backgrounds of villains. Yeah, I betcha he loves the Joker, because a lot of these chuds love the Joker movie, and that's exactly what that movie was. Just saying.
Everything comes down to what you personally feel. It's almost like once you stop people from believing in anything, then they'll eventually come to accept everything. Anyway, I digress.
What? Get people... Like, he's acting like the idea of, like, making a well-thought-out, articulate villain is a way to blur the lines of morality for the general public and make people okay with immoral stuff. That's the implication of that argument, which is just insane. Absolutely insane. Holy shit. Listen, these guys are still villains. Okay, so a villain I always really liked, I don't even remember his name, but it's the main villain in Hellboy 2. The Dark Elf. He has a backstory where it's like, if I were a Dark Elf, I might follow him. Like, he's essentially, Dark Elves were the powerful race, and then humanity came in, fucked them all up, took over, and he's like, no, the Dark Elves are coming back, I'm going to rise up, we're going to take back. He is, he has that story, and it's a story where you follow it and you see where he's coming from. He is absolutely unambiguously a villain. He is the bad guy. He is not, the one to root for. And kind of the cool aspect is that, like, Hellboy, like, one of the cool things about that movie is Hellboy is kind of almost meant to be the villain as well, but he's not. He's the one who's going to save the day. God damn it, we never got Guillermo del Toro Hellboy 3 after having a great Hellboy 2 and a solid Hellboy 1. It's a fucking crime against humanity. Absolute fucking crime. But yeah, this implication that somehow it's teaching people to not be moral, to actually explore villains. Fucking weird fucking argument, Critical Drinker. Yeah, don't write good characters, because you'll teach people that morality is not a thing. Fucking weird.
I have to admit, I did find myself with a few questions as I watched this trailer though. Like, why is Carrie-Anne Moss fighting like she's got a metal rod shoved up her arse? What?
Okay, so when I saw that fight scene, I was just kind of assuming that she was way more powerful. Like, it looked to me like she wasn't putting as much effort into that fight. And she was just way better at fighting than the other person.
She's got a metal rod shoved up her arse. Why is this diverse individual cosplaying as the
diverse individual. All these fucking dog whistles, they aren't even particularly dog whistly anymore. Okay, so it's...
individual cosplaying as the...
They have a hoodie and a striped shirt. That is it. That is your cosplaying as the 13th Doctor. For fuck's sake, bro, stop!
First individual cosplaying as the 13th Doctor. Why is this guy fighting hand to hand when lightsabers exist? How exactly did...
Maybe he doesn't have a lightsaber on him. For fuck's sake. Maybe... I mean, this is just a random fight. We don't know what even the context of this fight is. Maybe this isn't a fight to the death. Maybe this is meant to be a fist fight. Maybe this is a training fight. Maybe this is two old friends messing around when they get introduced to it. There's a billion fucking possibilities with this fight, and you're like, oh, why isn't it a lightsaber? This is why judging something based entirely on a trailer is fucking stupid.
How exactly did Leslie Headland get such a high-profile showrunner job in a franchise that she's never even worked in before?
Like, you just have to have the confidence to walk in there and pretend like you know how to do it. I'm telling you guys, like, the truth. Like, that's how I made my first film, was that I was like, I know what's going on. I didn't at all. And I think it shows in the movie.
So, yeah, she's talking about her first film, and, yeah. You know, you learn by doing, right? And you sometimes even learn by failing. Just saying.
Ah, that explains it. If you want another fun little game for yourself, then look up pretty much any interview of Headland talking about this show, and I can pretty much guarantee that 90% of it will be her talking about her favourite subject in the entire world. Herself. How important this story was to her.
So... Critical Drinker, you're making this claim. I want to see the insane amount of evidence and of her doing that. And I don't want to see you... Like, you're either going to not play clips to corroborate that, or you're going to play clips from obviously the same style interview being done for multiple outlets, where she's being asked the same questions over and over again. It's going to be one of those two.
How it made her feel to be represented, why her characters from a fanfic written decades ago somehow find themselves in a $100 million TV show because they mattered to her.
Is that...
So, you're saying she's not a Star Wars fan, but apparently she made a Star Wars fanfic, and now she's working on a Star Wars project, and she took characters from a Star Wars fanfic that she wrote and put them into the Star Wars project. And yet the characters that were from this Star Wars fanfic that was a project she did mattered to her. Like, he's presenting it like it's some sort of, like, conspiracy or some shit, and this just sounds like standard writing shit. I guess most writers, most people when they get into Evolved as a franchise aren't really doing fanfics, but... doesn't mean she's not capable. This is really a confusing argument, Critical Drinker. I don't... Like, you're making it sound bad, but, like, when you break it down, it's nothing. It's actually kind of logical.
When I pitched it, because I came in and I pitched my own idea, but I would have been able to understand...
And all of a sudden, I'm realizing he's probably just denigrating her by calling it a fanfic. It was probably just an idea for a story she had that she pitched, and he's just calling it a fanfic to denigrate it, so...
stand as a queer person, and I think I would have had a completely different life. It was like I was like,
oh, that's an interesting clip to clip, because what does this clip have to do with anything to do with Acolyte? Like, of all the clips to clip out,
came in and I pitched my own idea, but I would have been able to understand as a queer person, and I think I would have had a completely different life. It was like I was like,
just randomly a clip in there of her talking about being a queer person. Gee whiz. It's almost like you're implying that a queer person can't do a Star Wars project, Critical Drinker. And it's this type of shit that you do that you love to dance around, and it's such bullshit. Yes, a queer person is more than capable of doing a Star Wars project, Critical Drinker. Don't imply otherwise.
Like, what I'm really interested in
But it is always.
Oh my god, she's not even finished what I'm interested in. It's like, he's not even complete sentences. He's just, here's her talking about herself and being a queer person. And that's the whole point. Pretty much to point out that she's a queer person, it feels like these clip shows. It's ridiculous. Yes, guys, Critical Drinker is a bigot. It's pretty fucking obvious.
Always about the spiritual journey of what it is to become who you are.
This show has all the hallmarks of just another vanity project from a narcissistic writer who can't see past their own reflection and identity.
It does? It does? Because you haven't provided any evidence of that at all. You want to provide evidence of that, Critical Drinker? Other than, my white man counter wasn't high enough when I watched your fucking trailer?
Entity whose creative imagination extends no further than...
Put a ticket in and make her name it gay!
These...
We haven't even seen it. We saw a trailer, and it's decent. That's it.
These are the people in charge of Star Wars now, and I think it's about time that we accepted it's not going to change, ever. Disney...
So, Critical Drinker, are you just going to accept you're not a Star Wars fan and stop fucking covering it? Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about at this point. Like, you're clearly going into this to hate it. So, either when the series comes out, if it's somewhat neutral or negative, you will just pan it every episode. Or, if it comes out really positive, like X-Men 97, you'll just fucking pretend like it doesn't exist and move on to the next grift. It's kind of obvious how you guys operate at this point.
Are never going to give this franchise up, and they're never going to do any better because, quite simply, they can't. And George Lucas isn't coming back riding atop a white horse to save the day. And in case you were ever in any doubt about that, just check.
Ooh, we get to bring up the thing where George Lucas said, yeah, I'm backing Disney, shut up chuds. I guess he didn't say shut up chuds, but, yeah.
Check out his latest statement where he publicly backed Bob Iger against the one and only guy who might actually have a shot at turning the company around. I guess a man really can put a price on his own dignity and self-respect.
I think it's funny how these guys will cherry pick statements from George Lucas and be like, George Lucas is the one true voice of Star Wars. He's the guy on our side. And, you know, they'll ignore the fact that, like, if the prequels are coming out now, they won't have railed hard against him because that won't have been grift. I mean, a lot of the Star Wars grift kind of started with the prequels because, let's face it, the prequels are not amazing movies. They're not. I understand if you guys like the sequels. I understand. But there's lots of issues with those prequels. There's over-reliance on CGI that has not aged well. George Lucas had not worked on his direction really since the original movie. And it shows. He really hadn't grown as a director in those 20 plus years. There are issues with the prequels. I think there's a cool story to the prequels. I do. And I think there's some really solid performances, especially as you go on. Like, Liam Neeson was great in the first movie. And then, Ian McDiarmid was great in all the movies. Samuel L. Jackson was solid in all the movies. Frank Oz as Yoda was great in all the movies. Ewan McGregor was kind of rough in the first one, then he was okay in the second one, then he kind of had the roll down in Revenge of the Sith. He kind of had it down. So, like, there's pluses and minuses to those prequels, but they're shaky. They're shaky, and I guarantee you, if they were released now, the chuds would be all over them, but now they're going to praise them because the popular thing is to shit on Disney Star Wars. And then, like, you know, if George Lucas says something that they might be able to contort into shitting on Disney, they'll run with it. But if he says anything that goes the other way, they'll shit on him. And it was the same thing with Mark Hamill, if you remember. Mark Hamill did interviews where he talked about when he first got the script for Last Jedi. He was like, this isn't Luke Skywalker. Is this Jake Skywalker? And the chuds ran with that. And they ignored the end of the story where he talks about, you know, I really wasn't sure about this Luke Skywalker when I was doing it and I was performing it, but I went along with Ryan, and then I saw the final product and I said, Ryan, you're brilliant. They ignore the end of the story, they just listen to the beginning, and I think Mark Hamill is really kind of fucking pissed the chuds for running with it like that, because, yeah, he doesn't ever say anything like that anymore because it's annoying.
Correct. The point is that Star Wars today is nothing but an embarrassment to everyone associated with it. It's that pop star you idolised as a kid who's now a fat, balding, middle-aged man trying in vain to compete with artists half his age who probably has a search history more disturbing than Vosh's. It's that hot girl.
Oh, shut up, Vosh. He's a leftist. Gotta take a shot at him. I mean, I'm not gonna get into it. I thought about diving into it, but I don't know. It's weird, but it's not like criminal or anything. It's just weird. So it's kind of dumb for Vosh to accidentally. I guess you live stream enough, you'll fuck up. But yeah.
Girl you dated once in high school who now has 3 kids by 3 different dads and lives off welfare check.
Bob the old ways. I kind of don't even need to watch his videos. I've kind of seen... It's fun to debunk him because he's fucking popular as hell. And, you know, his... Like, when you see him do a video, that's narrative that a lot of these guys will run with. I don't think he's necessarily a trendsetter. I think the trendsetter is probably more likely a Daily Wire type stuff. But, like, Critical Drinker's a big name. The Chudosphere, so it's worth debunking a lot of his stuff. But, yeah, I know... I'm pretty solid on all his opinions before I see it. And I've seen all this editing trickery he loves to do, too. For someone who is really lazy with the editing, he'll get really specific with some of it in interesting ways.
But still goes out on the town every Saturday like she's 21. It's that 40-year-old woman in your office still listening to Taylor Swift songs, convinced there's deep meaning to be found in the trite, cliched lyrics and simplistic...
Bashing Taylor Swift. Hey, I'll be honest, I don't like Taylor Swift songs either. I mean, she seems like she's pretty cool, you know, she's not a Republican, she's not a chud, so that's important. Her songs don't thrill me either. But you know what? If someone's 40-year-old and enjoys Taylor Swift songs, that is fine. They're allowed.
Melodies. It's a grown-ass man who makes YouTube videos complaining about Star Wars for a living and wears shades indoors at night. Oh wait,
Hey! A little bit of self-awareness. Good on you, drinker.
Point here is that maybe this was ultimately for the best. Maybe it's time for fans to accept that the Star Wars they knew and grew up with is gone and it's never coming back. Maybe it's finally time to let it go and move on.
Yes, Critical Drinker, please let Star Wars go. Let Star Wars go. You obviously are not going into this with an open mind, which is what you should do for any piece of art. Just go into it with an open mind.
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now. Hey.
Yeah. That was really fucking bad. That's the thing. So, like, we've gone over this before. The Turf had that video about, oh my god, 500,000 views in 6 hours. Dude's a fucking... he gets those views. Anyways, you know, he does these normal reviews, and they will be semi-popular, and, you know, they might be fine, but then he does his editorials, and his editorials are universally just fucking atrociously bad. Atrociously bad, and that's noteworthy. Death of the Girl Boss, that's gotta be bad. Madam Web, the best movie of the year. Madam Web was pretty shit. Why movies are so expensive and how to fix it. I mean, you can limit the budget. Disney Wars, Gina Strikes Back. Oh, that story was so fucking stupid. Absolutely fucking stupid. I haven't heard anything about it since, but yeah, Gina Carano's suing Disney because they didn't renew her contract, which they didn't need to, so I don't even know what the fuck your case is, bro.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.